morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining our Next Experience Academy today. We have a really exciting academy and some guest speakers today, which I'll let them introduce themselves in just a little bit. So I just want to say hello from the Platform Outbound team. We do have me, Ashley Snyder, Maria Gabriella, and Amanda Joslin here today. Before we get into the topic for today's academy, I did want to cover just a little bit of housekeeping. So for questions, we do have that Q&A button at the bottom of Zoom for any questions that you might have. Please use that instead of the chat. This helps us get the questions after the academy is over because we do post those to the event on the community. That way, those who weren't able to attend do see the questions and the answers that we provided within that post. Feel free to use the chat to say hello. I see a lot of folks are already saying hello from different parts of the world. So hello from Germany and hello from Boston and Switzerland. And thank you everyone for joining today. And this session is being recorded. It will be posted on YouTube a few days after the session. We'll also have the slide deck that is being presented today. And you'll also receive an email from Live on ServiceNow with just a quick survey after the session. These surveys really are helpful to us because this session came from a lot of the surveys that we got. We got some survey responses from attendees that wanted more information on this topic. So we do go through those, and that does help us kind of gear what content that we should start presenting next. And so the Next Experience Academy, if you've joined before, or if this is your first time joining, just wanted to let you know what to expect. These sessions are for you. They are live sessions from our product teams. Please ask questions and interact. We definitely want to get your questions answered on these. And they're not just a presentation. It's not just a slide deck. We do have live demos during these sessions as well, so you can kind of see what the product actually looks like in a real life instance. And we'll also be back next month. So these are held every third Wednesday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And our next session will be on April 19th. I believe Brad Tilton and Maria Gabriella will be taking the helm on that one. And I think the topic will be something on workspaces. So we'll hammer that out and kind of present that in an event and put it on the academy once we get more detailed on that topic. Just a safe harbor notice before I hand over the speaker introductions. We may be speaking to some forward-looking statements, to some functionality in future releases or things that we're still discovering. So please don't make any purchasing decisions based upon the content that will be delivered today. All right, so I'll go ahead and just hand it off to the User Experience Analytics product team to go ahead and introduce themselves, and then I'll hand over the presentation to them.
Hi, I'm Daniel Sotillo, and I'm on the Platform Analytics team, and it's a pleasure to be able to share some of the User Experience Analytics integration with Next Experience.
Hi, my name is Tav, and I'm a product manager on User Experience Analytics team, led by Tzachi. I'm joining you today from Tel Aviv, Israel, and thank you all for joining.
Thanks, Tav, and hi, everyone. My name is Zahim. I'm the product director for User Experience Analytics, and thank you all for joining. We have some exciting content prepared for you today.
Awesome. And with that, I'll hand this off to you, Stav. I believe you're the first presenter.
Yes, thank you. So as for the agenda of today, we are going to learn what is User Experience Analytics, how to enable it, how to enable User Experience Analytics on Next Experience. We're going to learn about app tracking context. We will have live demo, and of course, we will leave time for Q&A. So let's start with what is User Experience Analytics. So User Experience Analytics is ServiceNow usage analytics platform for all different assets that is offered in the Now platform. We initially User Experience Analytics integrated with the mobile platform in the Orlando release. Afterwards, we've expanded to the service portal on Quebec. Then on Rome, we added the virtual agent. And in San Diego, we've expanded to Next Experience, which is the new UI experience, including workspaces. In Utah, we are offering also core UI tracking, including UI 16 pages. So user experience analytics helps ServiceNow customers understand usage, adoption, retention, and performance across all those assets. We will learn how to achieve it on this session, of course. So user experience analytics have a pretty unique architecture. User experience analytics data is stored on a separated repository outside the instance. We have a central repository, so all the data is there. It means that user experience analytics is not consuming any storage or any table space on the instance. The data is securely transported from the central repository to your instance. So today we are going to discuss our web app dashboard. Of course, as I mentioned before, we are also offering the mobile app dashboard in mobile platform applications. We do have two more dashboards, which are the virtual agent dashboard and also the AI search, that they are both also powered by user experience analytics. So I want to introduce to you to our key features. So we have the ability to drill down to single user level and track sessions activities. We also have the ability to explore how users are navigating the application. We can learn how to create advanced reports such as funnels and cohorts that helps explore users' flow and measure retention. We will also elaborate on the events and also the ability to create advanced queries. So as a data analytics platform, we are very conscious around the data privacy regulations and restrictions. There are different behaviors of tracking per location today. So for the US users, US users are automatically opting for tracking. As for EU users, they are presented with a pop-up. That means that they are explicitly needs to opt in for tracking. They have this pop-up presented to them. And for other location, they are presented with this agree pop-up. Of course, that users can decide whether or not it wants to be tracked. I'll get to this later, but after the demo, but for the Vancouver list, we are also planning to enhance this entire mechanism and allow more flexibility around this area. So a bit about the setup. So setup, the enable of user experience analytics for Next Experience is pretty easy because this is enabled by default, but if you want for some reason to disable the tracking, I'll show you how you do it. So I navigate from the platform. I start to type user experience analytics, navigate to settings. Of the user experience analytics record under enabled column, I click on it, and if I want to disable tracking, I uncheck this checkbox and I click on update. And unlike mobile and web channels, that, as you can see, they are separated. For example, for mobile, we have this now mobile and mobile agent separated. For Next Experience, it's pretty easy. Because we decide a unified decision for all Next Experience related application and also workspaces. Let's go back to the deck. So I'll hand it over to Daniel to explain more about the instrumentation.
All right, thank you, Staff. And just as Staff mentioned, to make this enablement super easy, we apply that concept throughout the whole application registration process as well. So once you enable Next Experience, user experience analytics, any of the applications that are built meant for next experience, like your configurable workspaces, those automatically get tracked. So there's no additional configuration you need. Any of the workspaces that you install or you create through UI Builder, those will also be automatically tracked. Any custom applications that kind of fit in the context and load inside the unified navigation app will also automatically get tracked. We were trying to recreate that very easy to get started, making sure that you get the relevant analytics data you need by enabling this. So we don't stop there for the application registration. We also track a number of default pages. So not only do we want to understand if users are using an application, but we also want to understand their page flow as well. So when you're in the platform pages, any of your typical .do page, those will be automatically tracked as a particular page. So you get better insights on which tables, which lists and forms that people are using. If it's in a workspace, you have an idea of which record pages from the table that are getting tracked as well. So if you're using some of the newer workspace interfaces, any of the routes that are created, those will be tracked as pages as well. So this will give you a pretty good idea of the number of users and sessions that later Stav will show, of the adoption of some of these new interfaces that you deploy in your environment. Now, aside from applications and pages, we also include some out-of-box events, which basically means like key user interactions. So for the next 3-4 slides, I want to give you a flavor of some of the interactions that we're tracking today. So here, this is the Unified Navigation app application shell. So there's a lot of menus, creating favorites, and so forth. Each of these labels here are a specific user interaction that we track automatically out of the box. Part of the next experience is to improve the discoverability and findability of how users navigate to their work. So later, we'll also show you a demo how you can leverage one of these event names and how to gather insights. So if you want to understand how people are finding work through the different menus, if they're creating favorites, are they searching for the results? These are the integration itself provides insights and usage data for you to analyze. Let's say you want to understand how, if users are taking advantage of their user preferences, are they configuring their display, the theming, the visualization? A lot of these things are also automatically tracked as well. Moving to workspaces, a lot of workspaces are kind of reimagined view of lists and forms. So we also apply a lot of tracking on there as well. Are they, for example, for the click L1 menu, are your end users utilizing some of the modules that have been pushed out to the workspaces? Which lists are people navigating to? When they apply on the list, are they needing to do a lot of filtering and grouping to find the work that they need? This will all give you insight and figure out if there are better ways to surface the work that they need to be assigned. Maybe they're not aware of some of the My List feature, or we can create more tailored lists for the end users so that they can find their work more quickly. And I'll just show one more page here on the actual record page. So, oftentimes we don't know if people are actually doing actual work on the record page themselves versus just viewing them. So by including some of these key interactions of how many updates they made, or are they doing anything to resolve or save the record, we now have some visibility to look into that. Part of the configurable workspace experience is also we provide these utilities. Are your end users utilizing these utilities to make their work more efficient? Now, there's a series of out-of-box interactions that we tracked. So we kind of provide that out-of-box as kind of like a batteries included approach. Now, if there are specific things that are not covered by our out-of-box instrumentation, or you have created your own workspace and you feel like you need to add your own instrumentation, you can also do that in UI Builder. It's a very similar concept to adding an event handler. Inside UI Builder, you can add an event handler, and you'll be looking for the add event tracking event handler. And in there, you can populate the event, which is going to be the event name. And then value would be any sort of additional properties that you want to associate to contextualize that event occurrence. So I'll turn it back over to Stav for a quick demo.
Okay, so we are going to start now the demo. We are going to have this demo on Unified Navigation app. This is the overview page. This presented out of the box. First, the default period that is set is last 30 days. Of course, you can change it from here to absolute and relative date. First KPI that we see is the total active users, including new users. New user is a user that actually performed its first session. I'll also mention that if a user accessed the application from different devices, for example, 2 devices, we will only count him once. This is the number of sessions. Single session starts with the first interaction the user has on the application until we have 30 minutes of inactivity. As related to that, the data is near real time. It means that after the session ends, we are automatically updating all the sections here and also the counters. Number of page views, pages are automatically tracked in user experience analytics and also correlates to the page list on the platform. We also have average session duration. Here we can see a trend chart of total sessions. You can trend it to daily, weekly, and monthly. And whenever you see this icon button, it means that you can export the data to a CSV. Here we see the user trend. Again, you can trend it for a daily, weekly, monthly view, and also segment it for active and new users. So the first level of analysis we can do will be around sessions. The answer that we get from this section will be in how many sessions did something happen. Here we can see all the session records within the Unified Navigation app. When I randomly select a record, I can see further information about this session. For example, the timeline of the session. I can also see the user that performed the session. Due to privacy reasons, we are not revealing the actual user ID. We are hashing it. Also, you can see the location. The location is based on the IP address. And I also can drill down with the session, and I can select a certain event that is performed. Sorry. Yeah. For example, I want to see in which session the event that was triggered was select menu. And the menu name was workspaces. And I click on it. I can see that I have 105 sessions with this related query. Of course, I can add on top of it more conditions. The second level of analysis we can do is around users. The question that we can answer in this section will be how many users actually meets a certain criteria. Once I click on a session record, I can see, let's pick randomly, I can see the session's history. Sorry, once I click on user record, I can see the session's history. And then again, similarly to sessions, I can create an advanced query around it. So I can actually see how many users actually triggered some event. I can select the same event. Match it with the same property. And run the query and see. Okay. Maybe it's something more here, but in that way, I can actually run a query for users. Let's run maybe a different query. So for example, I want to explore how many users I have from Netherlands. Let's see. Okay, so I got one user from the Netherlands. Okay, I'll hand it over to Daniel to explain about events, which is the another level of analysis.
So as Stav showed some of the user and session details, you also have the ability to kind of drill down on the events, which are essentially user interactions. So over here, you can go to analytics and events. And earlier there was a question on the top events. Does that come out of the box? Yes, so it does come out of the box. Any of the events that we include will get displayed here. If you add your own, it'll also populate on here. It's ordered by the number of occurrences. So I'm looking at, within the last month, all the key interactions that happened in the Unified Navigation app. You can change that to one of your own workspaces as well. But let me take you through an example of one of the key interactions I showed earlier. So one of the ones I showed earlier was the select menu item. So let's say I have a question on how people are navigating to their work and what kind of procedures and steps they have to kind of go through. I can infer some of these just from a single event here. So select menu item. So that's where I'm going to the menu on the top and selecting the item in the menu. So we can see that, you have a timeline of all the occurrences across the last month. You can aggregate that in different time periods. More activity yesterday. And the richness really comes from the property information that you associate with this event. So what I can tell from here is that we also include a menu name. So I know which menu they're accessing when they select a menu item. For this particular instance, about half of them are using the all menu, which is not surprising. That's kind of the default of getting at anything. But we also see that, hey, almost close to 50% are also using the workspace menu. So this instance, we have a lot of people adopting the configurable workspaces. What may be surprising is that the favorites menu is not utilized as much. Oftentimes, this is something like a quick shortcut. This is actually even smaller than the history menu. So additionally, when you click on a menu, I don't know, sometimes this is subconscious, but when you open a menu, especially in all, you typically want to kind of filter on a specific thing to shorten your list. You're essentially searching for the item. So the property here also provides a filter property. So when this is true, that means a user had entered something in the search box inside the menu to filter down to the result. So about half of the time. And we can also look at what they're querying on as well. So this query property here will show that, 53% of the time it's empty, which is not surprising. More than 50% is true, where the filter is actually, false, so it's blank. But we can look at some of the other top queries. So UIB, so someone's looking for UI Builder. You see UI Builder again, you see user experience, they're trying to access the dashboard. So you can glean some insights on how people are trying to get at this thing. So if we see that people are actually repeatedly doing this, well, that's, you open the menu, you search, then you click. That's already 3 or 4 clicks. Why can't they Why can't we just have that directly on the homepage or use it in the favorites to better quickly access all that? Last but not least, you also have the item name itself. So we can look at what are the most popular menu items are being accessed. So CSM configurable workspace in this case, as well as other workspaces as well. So this is just one user interaction, but the property information can yield a lot of insights. We don't have time to go through each of these user interaction, but many of these user interactions and events have these property information that contextualizes this occurrence. And this can really help the admin as well as the analytics admin to better understand how things are being used, how's the platform being used, and how end users are navigating to their work. So I'll turn it back to Stav to show some of the other capabilities in user experience analytics.
Okay, so another level of analysis we have is around pages. In this view, all pages tab, we can see a list of all pages, ordered from the most viewed page to the least viewed page. When I'm moving to page flows tab, I can see two very helpful sections. First one is the navigation section. From the navigation section, I can understand the previous page from the selected page, the previous navigation from this page, and the next navigation from this page. On our example, we can see the home page that, not surprisingly, but most of the users are coming to the home page from the starting of the session. And we can see that unfortunately most of them end the session after actually seeing the home page. But some of the navigations also going to the all page as well. Here we can see the performance section. In this performance section, we can find performance data for, in this example, for this home page in the web application that are being sent from the client side using a user experience analytics web SDK. The available trace type you can explore here are page load time, client time, network time, and server time. We have here a daily trend that displays the average time in either seconds or milliseconds. We don't have much data, and so we can see, and we also can see the number of traces that this result is based on. Another feature that relates to pages is our navigation path feature. This feature enables customers to track users' journey through the application between pages. So each circle represents here a page. And if you want to drill down for a different page, let's move and see a bit about the navigation here. We can see that from session start, most of the users are going to home, as we saw before, and we can see the number of navigations between the session start and home. And we can see that, as we saw before as well, most of users end the session, but some of them are navigating to whole page. And we can also see the number of navigations here. And if I want to drill down and explore a different page, I can make it the root point. For example, here I can make all my route, and it will allow me to explore navigation from this page and see how users are navigating between pages. So next we will see two actually advanced reports that we can create using user experience analytics. The first one will be funnels. So funnels, when I use this visualization will allow you to explore a specific flow and see the overall conversion rate. And also the number of users that actually moved from one step to another. Let's select, for example, this is the demo instance, so we don't have that much usage on it, but if we explored some this series of steps that users that started any session afterwards triggered that the event of a search start, and then actually selected some results from the actually the search that they performed. So we can also create a query. We can also create a funnel. I'll call it a workspace. So the first stage will be, I want to explore, basically, I can show you as well, it will be easier, how many users actually clicked on workspaces, pinned it to their left menu, and accessed asset workspace. So now I'm going to build actually those steps in the funnel. So the first event will be select menu. Select menu, where my menu name will be workspaces. The next event will be a pin menu. And the last one will be a select menu item, which will be with asset workspaces related. I'll show you that. Sorry. Okay, I'm adding it, and then I'm launching. This is the result of the funnel. So first we went to a users that selected workspace menu, pinned the menu, and then access the asset workspace. The last section I want to show you will be our retention area. This retention area helps us understand retention and session frequency. Here we have the cohorts chart. Cohorts allow us to measure how often users are coming back and use a unified navigation app. In general, you can also create your own basically cohort using this section. Maybe I'll explain a bit about it. So regarding the retention cohort, in the first column, we can see the date. And then in the second column, we see how many users actually I add on the week of February 13th. So I add new users, and I see that unfortunately none of them ever came back. I can also create, sorry, because this is a demo instance, we don't have much usage in it, but yeah. So here you can create your own cohort, basically. It helps you understand and measure how often users engaging your application for a certain recurring action. Basically, you can select either page view or event as well in order to explore this kind of area. So this is it about the demo.
Thank you, Stav and Daniel. So I know we got quite a few questions on this topic, which is great. It means people are interacting and they have questions about this. I know we have some open questions, and then I did want to make sure we touched on really fundamental ones that we answered in the chat. But I did have one question. I'm actually going to jump in line. Sorry. You were showing the menus and how we could track when a user would go to a menu such as workspaces or favorites. Is this just for the out-of-the-box menus of Next Experience, or if an admin sets up another menu like they can in Tokyo, that was a feature, will it also track the menus that admins create as well for users?
Yes, it will track the other menus as well.
Okay, awesome. So you can really kind of see when an admin's creating a menu for like a certain persona, if that menu is getting usage, if it's actually working. Like you showed on the query searches, if a certain thing is being queried a lot, maybe we need a favorite or maybe we need a menu created for that. So that's kind of how you can tie those pieces together with the new admin configurable menus. Yeah, so I did want to hand it over to your team I know we have 4 open questions that we wanted to answer live, and then we'll touch base on some of the answered ones.
Yeah, so I'd be happy to jump in and take the first one from Maggie. Maggie is asking, is there a way to edit the user experience analytics dashboard? So the great answer is yes, and I'll show you a capability that we released as part of the Tokyo release. So editing of the out-of-the-box user experience analytics dashboard is not supported, but in Tokyo, we've released a store app called User Experience Analytics Performance Analytics Integration. It's available for free. Anyone can install it. And after it is installed, you can actually import UX analytics metrics into a platform analytics dashboard. So for those of you who are not familiar with the platform analytics workspace, those are the kind of the new Next Experience dashboards. So in my Next Experience UI, I can navigate to platform analytics workspace, and under analytics center, I navigate to dashboards and I can create a new dashboard. And here I created a new empty dashboard called UX analytics dashboard, and I'm going to add a new element. So we will select the data visualization component. And now I can configure this element to load data from UX analytics. So in Tokyo, we're currently supporting a few basic metrics. That includes metrics for active users, sessions, and event counts. And in future releases, we're planning to essentially make all UX analytics metrics available through this configuration. But I will click on Add Data Source. And after I have installed this store app, I would have a new source here on the list, User Experience Analytics. So let's say I want to add the number of active users. I will select my application. Let's go with Service Portal, for example. And here I would go with active users. And once I add this source, then I would get the count here. So this data is actually coming from UX Analytics, and then I can save and publish or share this dashboard. We also support multiple types of data visualizations. So for example, if I want to see a column chart of active users over the last 30 days, and you can see we have this drag and drop and very nice design experience with the platform analytics dashboard editor. So that's a great question. So thank you, Maggie. A few additional questions were around the availability of UX analytics in regulated environments. So currently, we do not have support for UX analytics in regulated environments. We have started the deployment process. It will take us a few months. We cannot share an ETA yet, but it's definitely on the roadmap and it's definitely coming. We had also several questions regarding the hashed user ID and how customers can potentially send a user identifier to UX analytics. So in the slides, Daniel demoed how we can send custom data with custom events when we hook into a UIB trigger. So in the same manner, we can hook into a basic event, for example, the page loaded event. And in the event, we can pretty much send any data we want. Each event can contain properties. So these are key value pairs. So you can pretty much send any value you see fit. Again, out of the box, and by default, we do not send any user identifiers, but it is possible for UIB applications. For workspace, out-of-box workspaces, and for the unified navigation app, as far as I'm aware, it's not currently possible, but Daniel, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, for the out-of-box user, we include the roles. I think someone was asking about personas. There's no defined personas per se. If I misinterpret, please let me know. The closest thing I can think of is roles, but as Zahi mentioned, we do provide the ability for you to add your own instrumentation. So the out-of-box wasn't meant to cover all use cases, but it's to kind of get you going so that you can get some immediate value based out of what we provide, and you can add additional events to enrich your own usage analytics purposes.
Thanks, Daniel. We also had a few questions around the consent flow and how we can actually build a custom consent flow. So for service portal applications, it is possible to create a custom flow and actually build any type of, I would say, consent strategy we want. And that can be show a consent pop-up to all of the users, hide it from all of the users, or write any custom logic we want. For next experience applications, it is not supported, but the great news is that as part of the Vancouver release, we will be releasing a very robust configuration platform for allowing you to very easily change the consent flow. It can be a per country policy, or it can be a very rich script that takes data from the platform and analyzes different parameters to decide whether or not a user should be tracked and whether or not we should show the consent pop-ups. So that's coming in Vancouver. I see a few additional questions kind of live in the chat, so I can kind of go over them and answer live. Maggie is asking, can anyone create funnels? The answer is yes, anyone can create funnels if a user has access to the dashboard. So access to the dashboard is controlled by a specific role. Then if a user has access to the dashboard, he can create funnels, and he can also view all the funnels. In our backlog, we do have a functionality that will allow customers to and end users to create private funnels versus public funnels. But for now, all the funnels are public by default. We have a question around if I create a custom workspace or dashboard, will UX Analytics track it? So the answer is yes. We will track any next experience application by default. And the out-of-box events that Daniel mentioned will also be tracked as part of the workspace or application. Thomas is asking, is it possible to track custom events within Next Experience UI similar to Service Portal? So it works in a slightly different way. In Service Portal, you actually write some custom client script code through our SN Analytics API. And with UI Builder, it works slightly different. Maybe Daniel can reshare that slide showing how that's technically done.
So in Service Portal, like Zahi said, you write some Angular JavaScript to embed that event. We want to, because Next Experience is all kind of centered around the UI Builder, we adopted this approach where you are associate the event tracking with the event handler. So you have page level event handlers, and in there you can add an event tracking. That way, if there are specific, I think for this one, I selected on a particular component, it was a button, and I can add an event handler. And so if there's any sort of events being emitted on that button, I can hook into that event handler and issue this event. You can do that for any of the items in components or any event handlers coming out of UI Builder. And this is how you would add your own custom instrumentation.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. Conrad is asking, is it possible to track user analytics for this CMS portal? So essentially UX analytics can be enabled on any portal. And starting this Tokyo release, all portals will be tracked by default. So just pointing that out as well. And going to the next question, is it possible to set a threshold and subsequently generate events when exceeded? For example, page load times. Unfortunately, it's not supported out of the box. You can, of course, implement a custom logic on that UIB app, but it's not available out of box. And I see last questions from Sab. Can you track usage or navigation on portal to see how users are navigating there? Absolutely. So the navigation paths feature that Stav showed, and essentially the entire page analysis section, is 100% available for Service Portal as well. And Next Experience and Service Portal actually have the same capabilities from an analysis perspective on the dashboard. The only thing that is different is actually the out-of-box events. So for Next Experience, we have one set of out-of-box events, and for Service Portal, we have a different set. For Service Portal, you can create custom events for all of your portals. And for Next Experience, for now, we only support custom events for UIB custom applications.
Yeah, I have two more slides just to additional information, if it's okay.
Yeah, please.
Great. So just small, a bit of further information. So first one will be how to access user experience analytics for Next Experience. So from the platform, I'm navigating, I'm starting typing user experience analytics, and then I click on dashboard. So this is how I access user experience analytics. I think someone, Maggie, I think, asked the question regarding the roles. So this is the hierarchy of roles. It's enough to have the now experienced analytics viewer in order to view user experience analytics for Next Experience. But you can also have, of course, the web analytics viewer and also analytics viewer. We also have it for admins. This is pretty much the same hierarchy. As regards to the Vancouver plan, Tzachi spoke about it a bit. So we are moving from the region approach that I showed you before to actually a country approach. You can set a analytics consent policy for each country. Apply a certain consent policy for all countries, and you can also control the detection policy provider. It means that I will be able to track location using a GeoIP, for example, but also I can use a user stable from the platform, or I can also create my own script that will determine location.
Awesome. I think the questions have died down. I'll take over in just a moment and start wrapping us up. I did want to remind everyone, question-wise, again, these will be posted on the community event shortly after this session, once I get them all typed out. So no fears, those questions don't get away or go away, and there's something that you can refer to afterwards, because I know we had a lot that we answered within the Q&A panel itself. So I just want to do some wrap-up housekeeping and let you know of some resources that we have out there. So I'll go ahead and share. So we do have the Next Experience community. It is a product hub on the ServiceNow community. You'll find our academies and different training materials there. So if you are, if you want to go and find a YouTube recording for this academy, the Q&A, like I mentioned, or any upcoming academies like the April 19th one, we have a quick tile on our main page for you to get to that. Within the Next Experience product hub, we do have kind of our center of excellence that we started to aggregate a lot of Next Experience resources. So if you have questions on getting started with Next Experience UI, getting started with Theme Builder, Workspaces, UI Builder, we do have that information available for you. Don't forget, we also have Next Experience and UI Builder courses on Now Learning, and those will be updated shortly after the Utah release to reflect the most up-to-date material. And then we also have our Next Experience YouTube playlist, where you can find this Academy session and all of future Academy sessions once they're recorded, and past ones as well on that YouTube playlist. So we're up to session 8. So we've been doing this for about 8 months. We have a lot of great content throughout releases. As far as live on ServiceNow events, so there are a lot of events out there, not just Next Experience ones. They are posted here on this kind of main registration page. There's a QR code. If you're looking and want to see the list of events, if you can't access that QR code, if you go to the ServiceNow community, if you go to the events header, you'll see a Live on ServiceNow drop down. That's another easy way that you can get to all of our Live on ServiceNow events. So, platform events, ITSM events, CSM events, they're all there and aggregated there for you. And then a plug for our related academies. So we are part of the Platform Outbound team, and a lot of our other teams and team members have their own academy sessions as well. So we do have some quick links for you here for the Platform Foundations Academy, our Platform Analytics Academy, Mobile Academy, Virtual Agent Academy, and AI Academy. So we definitely have Academy for anything that you're looking for platform-wise. And that is found on the ServiceNow community as well. If you just go to the Now Platform Product Hub, you'll see a tile there to get to all these academies as well. Again, our next academy is April 19th at 11 a.m. Eastern. Probably going to do something related to workspaces, so that's going to be a really exciting one to join. And I do want to say thank you to the User Experience Analytics team today for appearing on here and letting everyone know about User Experience Analytics, what it is, and how it can be used in relation to Next Experience. This is a topic that I know that a lot of folks have been interested in for a while. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you for joining, everyone. Have a great day.